Okay. So I'm in this Discord chat here. I've been reading this Discord stuff. So this guy named 50 Cent proposed this fantasy situation. And I just now so I just decided to pipe in here on this chat here. And so this guy 50 Cent, he comes up with this idea that he proposes. I don't know. He's been drinking. It's Friday night, so he's drinking tequila. He says he does a what if. What if a bumblebee, whatever. Um, so he says if you could have an 80% strike rate, I think he means win, but would have to trade with no stops, would you do it? Now, as soon as somebody says that, I think to myself, well, how much money's in the account? Like if there's $300 in the account and you make your day job makes 10 grand a month, and you can clear 3 grand after expenses, go for it. Because you're basically risking whatever's in the account. And here also he says, so here's where everything is really. I'm just assuming he's been stopped out of trades, so he's like, fuck this, fuck stops. But so his proposal is, if you could have an 80% strike rate, but would have to trade with no stops, would you do it? And well, you see, you could have an 80% strike rate without stops because eventually you might be right on the trade unless it goes catastrophically against you. Also, you would have to suffer horrific drawdown on some individual trades. And horrific, I'm thinking money. There's nothing horrifying about losing $20 on a 1K, which is $20. It could be horrifying. So I think we're talking. So I never know if people are talking about money or pips. And so what if it was 90% hit rate? Okay, now this always occurs to people when they look at a chart. Like I said, my tequila buddy, he's drinking tequila too. So my tequila buddy would say, gosh, dude, if I could just have enough money in the account, I could triple the account. Yeah, because you could survive market going against you and maybe coming back. If the 80% of the market's range trading, then it could come back. But what if it goes into just, a meltdown? Like the British pound went down for 3 years. You would just keep blowing up accounts. So I said, how much is in the account? And this is when it goes terribly wrong here. Or it just becomes like ridiculous. I said, how much is in the account? So his answer is how much you want. Okay, well, this would depend on how much your net worth is and how much psychological pain you can take. But one of the rules would be no more than 1.5 lots. I think he says lots later on. 1.5 lots per day with no more than $10,000 in account per trade. And that's a lot of money, $10,000 to risk, and it doesn't make any sense. It's just fantasy stuff, I suppose. In other words, no more than 1.5 lots per 24 hours. And so he's got that restriction. And how would you do it? How could you preserve capital at a drawdown, still stick to the rules? Well, you'd have to hedge. And I think he's in the United States, so he'd have to go offshore. I said, what is the risk? 10K? Sounds retarded. Trade with 100 pip stops. Forex is over the counter. Over the counter means no limits in price movement. The market could just keep going. It's over the counter. There's no regulation in price. What if the strike rate was 90% in a 10-day period? And then I said, the 11th day wipes you out, which could totally happen. I've done it. Anybody's done it. Anybody who's taken an account up and then just, we're talking about trading without stops, and just obliterated it. It's very common. So how could you make it happen? Yes. You're thinking one direction, and even they have broke up. I don't know what that means. One Direction, the band. I don't listen to One Direction. I listened to Miley Cyrus before that. I said, are they stopping you out of trades? Because the whole motivation for his comment is kind of like, I'm just assuming he's getting stopped out. He's like, fuck those stops. Pull them out, right? How dare they stop me out? Don't they know I'm trying to trade this shit? So, again, one of the rules is no stops. Only take profits. And then I asked, now here's the thing. How big a profit are you going to take? 2 pips or 200? I said, are you getting out of trades that go against you? What time frame? You have 1.5 lots available for trading going against you. No more than 1.5 lots. I mean, just crazy restrictions on here. I mean, if you trade without stops, then just go berserk, man. Is there 10 grand in the account? We're not even talking the size of each ticket. How big is each ticket? 1.5 lots. Again, he will not describe how big the tickets are. And he says once the account's doubled, you can step up to 2 lots. I said, do not do that. In fact, maybe you want to retire the account, or just start trading with stops. Now you made it through the threshold, like they say when you go to the moon. You spend about 80% of your fuel getting off the launch pad. Yeah, once you're in space, let it coast, man. You don't want to come in and do that. So, what he's saying is just, I don't know. It's ridiculous. I know it's a fantasy. It says, so what's your profit? He goes, that is determined by your daily range and where you enter. That's not an answer. How many pips are you looking to make? If you're looking to make 20 pips, and we're not even talking about if he's on the 1 hour chart, how often does he pull the trigger? Is he getting in the market stop limit? I mean, you're leaving so much out of the picture. It's like saying if you could drive around the world without burning any fuel, what cities would you stop at? Geez, I don't know. How long are you going to live? You just can't have. You need more info, right? I said once you 2x the account, once you double the account, I would step down or put in stops. I said, are you planning on mental stops? He says, why? If you have a system that doubled the account in the first place. Okay, dude, if you got a system that doubles the account, then just every time it doubles, if it doubles the account every time, then put $1 million in and just make $2 million. This is where there's the big problem with this kind of stuff. Some guy posted, I did a video and some guy wrote in the thing, oh, you got a robot that makes 200% a week. I'm like, put $1 billion in it. Oh, we wouldn't do that because sometimes it doesn't make of course. There's no fucking way a robot's making 200% a week. Yeah, maybe on $1,000, and then you take that money, you put it on a $1,000 account, but really? I can't believe you're commenting on my thing. A human could make that. A robot couldn't. A human can out-trade a robot any day of the week. A robot cannot do the trades. I'm so sorry. So I said there's a big difference between doubling $200 and doubling 20K. Now this is where it just goes terribly wrong. He says, so I'm saying there's a difference between doubling 200 and doubling 20K or 2 million. There's a big difference. He goes, what is the difference? Only mentally. Okay, well, if you decide to get a lobotomy, it won't bother you mentally. But you have to live in your head. Okay, most people, after they're done trading, they want to be able to go watch a TV show and understand that too. Like, you'd have to wipe out your brain to not give a fuck about losing $2 million or $20,000. Only mentally, but in reality, the same rules for 200 would apply to 20,000. Well, that's absolutely retarded. You don't treat $200 the same way you treat $20,000. That's why it says $20,000 on the fucking $20,000 bill. There is no fucking way the size does not matter. There's no fucking way. I don't know anybody in this world that doesn't think $20,000 is more than $200. And just because your system's Well, this is all fantasy stuff, right? Um, it says, what if part of the plan allows for 99% probability the trade would take target? I mean, why not 100%? If you're going to have a fantasy, make sure the girl has no family members. She's smoking hot. She has no hangups. And she's never even sleeps. At any time you feel the need, she's there to bang. Right? She doesn't sleep. She's 24 hours. I mean, it sounds like, I think he's just, it sounds like a good sex thing. Like, what if you could have a girlfriend that never complained, didn't nag you, was up 24 hours, never aged, hotter than hell. She got twice as good looking every week, no stops. It sounds like he's trying to have sex with the market. I'm just saying. Okay, so what if the plan allows for 99% probability a trade would take target? Well, I could put in a half pip target, and it would be 99% it would take it. And you're allowed to lump 3 days size into 1 day, but couldn't trade for 3 days after. Now, okay, so you're allowed to bang her brains out 3 days in a row, but the third on the fourth day she let her kind of rest up and heal her pelvis. Right, the headboard marks on the top of her head. You let her heal up a little bit. Okay, babe, listen, you're putting out like 99%, and we'll let you rest. I'm tired myself. I asked him, have you been drinking? And he was going to ask me if I've been drinking. I said, why did you decide to go with this particular trading fantasy? And then the moderator pipes in. Is it a fantasy, he's asking? So, let's see here. Okay. No disrespect. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, but okay. So I'm gonna have to ask him. Yeah, but why? But why? Right? I don't know. So, anyways, going back to reality of the 4-hour chart. Here I got the 4-hour euro dollar. I think I've got a 5-pip grid up here. So this is 5 pips. And the spread is actually closed here at 1/10 of a pip, amazingly. Did anybody see this trade? Now, this didn't take any type of RSI or any kind of rocket science. So where I left off in the last video, I said we hit 122. Well, we didn't quite make it. But this was the distribution phase. In my opinion, this was the distribution. We mark it all the way down. And once again, we come back to the starting gate, right? All the way back to here. This top and this top, right? And where's the stop hunt on the daily? Where's the deep discount vestibule foyer? It starts right here. Anything here? Now, at this time, people are probably looking at the 1 hour and the 5-minute chart and the 4-hour chart at this point. But this is a really huge deep discount basement prices. And if we went down here, this would be a good place to buy. Right? Now, even here, look at this kickback. Look at this stop hunt. Right here. Okay, this is a 10-pip window. Right. Even this trade here is a monster winner. Okay. I think this is the only way to trade. To be honest with you, I've been lying to this point. You see this wick? You see this entry? Now, I have to assume that at the end of the day, you made this much pips. Right? Came down here. We tagged that. We come back up. So let's take a look at the forensics on that. Came down. Tagged this. and it's just under 10 pip window. Like here's 10 pips, right? And we come rocketing back up. So basically you made about 70 pips on that. And look where it turns around. It turns around at the wicks. So you really trade at the edge of the market there. You could have sold that too. You could have sold that, could have come back down. Look at this juicy entry. This is really going to get better than this. Comes down here within a 5 pip stop hunt, right? If your stop was there, they stopped you out if you're a bull. Look at this rip-roaring trade. And once again, the same thing. Look at this. Come back up, trim the trees here. I think that's a 2 pip window of tree trimming. This is the way to trade. You're selling here. Then you're going to buy. You just trade wick to wick. It's too dumb. Nobody wants to trade like this because they feel insulting their intelligence. Right? Here's your entry. You could be entering all this. Don't forget. You could have bought here. Well, I stopped you out. No, I got a 50 pip stop. I buy. Well, you're adding to a loser. Yeah, I know. How much money did I make there? Only 200 pips. Then, this is pretty obvious. Come up here, sell into that. You're going to have a 50 pip stop to trade like this on the 4-hour chart. You can have a 5 pip stop, but you might stop you out of that one. Same thing here, even. Look at this rooftop. Look at this entry. People would say that's hindsight. Go fuck yourself. This is where I'm buying on, this is where I would buy next. Right? For various exits, though. I'm not going to buy one ticket there. I'm not going to bet the ranch on this one fucking entry. I'm not going for this. I'm going to bet the whole account, right? Same thing could be said for if you bought here, you are currently underwater. How big is that ticket? Does that matter to you? That's all that's really going to matter in this game is how do you feel about that? Now, you could be short right now, and you could be waiting to hit targets, or you could be short and have already gotten out. If you're going to, and these are limit orders I'm talking about here. Now, if you're going to go to stop entry, you're probably going to wait for the market on the 4-hour chart. If you were trading stops in the 4-hour chart, you're going to have sell stops here, and you would have buy stops here. Right? Because, like here, in an uptrend, when the volatility is low, it's saying, okay, you could trade with a buy stop here. The market is not moving a lot of pips at this point. You got a buy stop here, and maybe you're bearish, so you put a sell stop here. Passive, these confirmation entries, by the way, stop entry, they pick you up. Okay, what is the juiciest breakout trade on this whole chart? This really small candle. Did you make a lot of pips? No, you only made about 25 pips there. It's not a lot of pips, but if it's a big position, if it's a standard lot, that's $200. You should be able to see this stuff. 8 hours of low volatility, buy stops above, sell stops below, only filled on the long side. Had you let it go? Right? This guy's talking about trading without stops. How about trading without targets? Let it go. Now, I suppose the news came out, or this is London Open. I don't know what happened here, but even if you bought here, right, or you bought at the round number, or you bought here, or you bought here, or you bought here, ultimately you're buying here. This area here is probably, there's probably a pattern like a triangle on the 1 hour inside here. Whatever. Anytime you see a doji, there's a fucking triangle or a wedge or flag, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But look at, carry this forward, this 8 hour cluster. Where does it come back to? Return to scene of the crime. Buy limits here. Now, if you're here to see that trade, it's completely different than if you're not here to see that. And that's where the mental part comes in. Have you placed a buy limit here with a target to get out here because you know that this exists? You knew this existed, and you knew this existed before this bar. There's nothing hindsight about this. You know, in other words, you know this exists. You know this vacuum exists. You know that this price exists. You also know all these other prices exist. You would have a buy limit here that never got filled. Now, that's presupposing you don't mind buying low and selling high. Same thing on this high side. Had you sold up here, you're right now almost a break even. And that's why buyers would probably come in, because the people that sold here might be cashing out here. Now there's this window, there's this window, here's the big breakout trade. It's a 4-hour chart, by the way. So if you had to wait 4 hours for this small baby candle, and this was, I watched this happen. This was Thursday night. This is 9:30 at night. Boom. They trap the goobers, and you also have another volatility breakout candle, this one, or bar, range, small range. Time to put your buy stops and sell stops in. You should be short on limits at that point, right? It's the high of the year. It is the high of the year. High of this year. And the year is, we're 2 months in, right? This is the year. The year in pictures. I don't know if this is going to keep going higher on this time frame. It looks bullish, but then again, yeah, I wouldn't buy here. If I thought this was going to go up, like I said, I would buy 4-hour chart. My first buy here is for a scalp. Now, can this keep melting down? Sure, why not? Could this be it? This is a pretty frantic move to the top side. And weekly says, oh, it's still going up. But see, this is all bullshit speculation, because unless you're willing to sit in this trade and hold this, like if you bought, put a stop here, end of the world stop, this guy trading without stops. It's ridiculous. It's just fantasy stuff. Okay, here is the half-hour chart. Now, if you're a half-hour trader, you've already seen plenty of juicy trades in the half hour that just, these are just gimme trades. You come here a 5-pip window, crush into this liquidity, this stop hunt, up, down. Here was coming into Thursday night. This is London Open, collapsed down. Trade and break on a half hour. You've got to be on it. 1 hour is a little more civilized. Like here's Asia. Or, I'm sorry, this is this is Thursday night. Well, here's Asia. Breakout traders making a mint there. It's 4 hours. It's better to just trade the 1 hour chart. Now here's the problem with trading. It's boring. It's boring as the day is long. And it's obvious as the day is long. And I just think people don't want to think it's that easy, because it involves money, and it's so unpredictable, and it's so chaotic. It's not. The market gets quiet. The market gets loud. When the market's loud, how can you tell the market's loud? Because you have big bars. This is loud. Loud noise. This is quiet noise here. In fact, right now, it's kind of quiet. Can this continue tanking? Sure, why not? Could I draw a trend line on there? Sure. Some guy asked me about 1 minute trend lines and trend line and close. Well, yeah, if you go to a 1 minute chart, he said he flipped between a 1 minute chart and a 5 minute chart, and the trend lines didn't sync up. If you put up a 5 minute chart and draw trend lines on it, it just sync up to the 1 minute chart. It's just going to look kooky. Actually, if you go from the 5 to the 1, of course it's not going to sync up. If you go from the 1 to the 5, it has to sync up. In other words, you take a 1 minute chart and you draw trend lines on it, it has to sync up. Because why does it have to sync up? Because you've included that thing, right? let's see, I draw a trend line here, 1 minute chart. It's holding that trend line perfectly. Now that should tag the 5 minute chart, right? I mean, so it's not going to tag the 5 because the 1 minute chart's up into here, but it's going down, right? The trend's line. It's, you know, now if I take it to here and then I go to the 1 minute chart, of course it's not going to, but it's going down. There's, it's not going to touch the exact, unless you go from a 1 minute chart to maybe a 2 minute chart. If you go from, the reason why the 1 and the 5 aren't going to be dead on is because you're 5x away. If you go from a half hour to a 15 minute, right? But if you build it on the 15, you would see it touch on the half hour if it's turning on that, but it doesn't turn on that. The market can move 20 pips in 1 minute. If that's true, then it's not going to touch perfectly. But what time frame are you trading, right? What is the time frame you're going to trade? And a lot of it's better for top become bottom on this than it is a trend line. I'm from Canada. I'm not, but I could talk like that if I had to. So from a half hour to 1 hour, it's going to sync better because you're only one increment away. So from a 1 minute to a 2 minute, it would sync. And sometimes it would sync on a 5 to a 1. But it's just, it's inconsequential. The question is, how much are you willing to lose per day? Don't even think about making money. Think about trading and how much you're willing to lose per day. Okay, so this guy's bailed on the conversation. So I'm making a video about it. Now he's going to get all paranoid. Actually, I've been reading through this this site here, the stuff people say, and you have to approach these chat rooms with a lot of salt or whatever they say. Actually, I wouldn't even, it's entertainment purposes only because I don't think these people, some people, I don't think that, I think what it is about wanting to, looking for confirmation from other traders, looking to talk about charts and looking to look at stuff. And most people, most traders are very polite people, and so they're not going to tell you the truth, which I guess, I don't know if you're doing people a favor by cheering them on in their ridiculous trade plans. Well, they're not even trade plans, they're analysis and stuff. But, it's just such a, like the charts people put up here. I don't know. I just don't know. I guess what it is, it's like if you see a girl and you imagine her in some clothes that are different than the trashy. Say she's got clothes and you think to yourself, no, she'd look better in a different color. Now you dress up your chart to look the way you want to see the market. Well, it's just human nature. It is mental. The problem is that you're stuck with your, like I said, unless you get a lobotomy, you're stuck with your brain because it's the same brain that you're going to use to enjoy some piece of artwork or something. So you can't just be a robot about it. And yeah, it would matter. And of course, what also matters is that the market did something that you thought it was going to do. And that's actually a bad thing in a way, because now you think, God, I'm really good at predicting the market. Okay. And maybe you've hardly ever traded in your life. And so therefore you're like, damn, I think I was right about that. Right about that. I mean, and maybe you just made a little bit of money on that trade, or maybe you didn't make any money, or you were in the trade, but you thought, oh God, I was right about that. And now you're feeling like, next time I see that pattern, I'm going to jump in on that. not realizing that anything could happen. Because this, I think, the big fallacy is anything could happen. Now, the analogy for a girl would be like the crying game, right? Turns out chicks with dicks. I mean, oh, she looks so good. If you're over in what Asia somewhere, these lady boys, you're like, yeah, she's so hot until I got her home. And the markets can continually betraying people in that sense. Now, if you can see yourself outside of yourself, and you can see, and of course, you could second guess yourself out of a good trade, right? Where you're saying, okay, I see the pattern, and now if you get paranoid about the pattern, you say, I think everybody else can see that pattern, and you're like, it's too good to be true. I'm not going to take this trade. And when I think the other trade is like, well, it's kind of a fuzzy trade. Nobody can see it. Now, this is when it comes down to, I guess, looking for confirmation from the, quote, big boys. What are the big boys? Well, they're using a 20 EMA. I saw some guy in this thing say he was using a 200 moving average. I just thought, exponential or simple? No, I mean, I thought, but how are you using it? When people say they're using horoscopes to pick up hot chicks at the bar, well, what bar are you at? Is she on the cusp of the horoscope symbol? So you're using the, but how are you doing it? Are you saying, wow, you got the same sign as me? Or, wow, that's like I've never met anybody with the horoscope sign you have. I mean, how are you using that 200 moving average? Or how are you using this edge, pickup edge? I don't think there's much of a difference between the market and women, honestly. There's so many things in common there. Betrayal, really good, then not so good. Fill in the blank. And of course, the excitement factor is probably even better than sex. I've heard a lot of people say trading's better than sex. And for a lot of reasons. A lot of surprises. Most women aren't going to all of a sudden go, hey, you know what? I just bought you a car. Oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. Oh, just keyed your car. Yeah, saw that coming. So I guess it's a lot alike, and whether you choose to get involved. Now, you'll meet people that would never trade. They'd say, oh, it's just too risky. Too much uncertainty. And definitely uncertainty is there. And risk, you could control the risk with how much money's in your account. And with the women, a lot of people would say, well, I'm just going to stay married to one girl. I'm not going to risk cheating on her. So, in a way, if I'm trading the euro dollar and I go trade the British pound, there's a little bit of a cheating factor, I suppose. In other words, if I'm going to leave the euro and I'm not going to pay attention to every tick on the euro and get in sync with that mentally and the breadth of that market, I go trade the British pound. I'm like, okay. And then what inevitably happens to me is I would say, well, these are both against the dollar, and Europe's very close to Britain. So, it's just, you add one thing to this mix of trading, and it's exponential amplification of issues upon issues upon issues. And I think this is a problem, if you're easily overwhelmed. But maybe it's not. Maybe you don't mind being your attention being spread between two or more currencies. And maybe you're a casual trader, and maybe you've got a day job, and maybe you could have a day job and still make a ton of money trading. If you decide to be a full-time trader, no, it's completely different. Because now you need to have multiple accounts, because you can't just, I need that, because I can't just, you have to have something in reserves so that this is the only source of income. You got to be able to live off your trading account. So you don't want to trade the fuck out. You can't overtrade. If you overtrade it because you think, well, I do this for a living. In my normal job, I worked 40 hours a day. Therefore, I'm going to work 40 trades a day. I'm gonna trade this like it's a. But unless you get customers and your customers being price coming into your capture zone, your limit orders, right? That's it's kind of like how you would pick up women too. Say you're sitting at the bar. Now this may not happen, but some girl might come up to you, or you could just stare at her till she says, "Stop fucking staring at me," or call the police. There's all sorts of ways to pick up a girl, and there's see, but the fear of missing out. Now imagine this is in the bar. Fear of missing out. Well, you would go up to every fucking girl and ask her to dance or to fuck or whatever, however subtle you want to be. And of course, when you leave the bar, with your face all bruised, the fear of missing out is pretty much canceled out there. And you've pretty much said, well, maybe you turn gay after that. But you just say, oh, you know what? Okay. Put my best foot forward and look at me. I'm a trooper. I stood up to all these women, and this is as far as I got, and so on and so on. And but yeah, this idea that you're gonna, put a limit order on, which is, I guess, essentially like going in the girl's bathroom and leaving your phone number on the wall, possibly, and hoping that pays out somehow. But it's a lot like the same. Of course, not to say that women are erratic like the market, but I think so. There, I said it. But whatever you need to get through the pain of trading. But the market is just an endless, as Mark Douglas would say, endless possibilities, endless potential, endless profits sitting there, bottomless pit of money. And some of these trades are so obvious that I just don't think people want to accept how stupid trading really is. And I just don't think Hollywood ever helped by portraying trading as a glamorous sport. And it does no good when you have these fucknuts with their Ferraris and shit. All these posers that are making it appear to be it's utterly boring. It's like owning a window shop that makes doors and windows. Or a window shop that makes doors would be more exciting because people would say, well, these are really big windows you're selling. Yeah, I know. Well, our windows have knobs. We're a very unique company. So it's a real brain teaser trading. I think it is mental. I think it's also about safety. You trade with a stop because you want to feel safe. What you pay for safety could take you out of a winning trade. Just like insurance on your car. Now, if you saved all the insurance money that you would spend on your car, you buy a nicer car. But you could wipe it out and not have. So I don't think there's anything in life that has this. Well, what if I was right 1,000% of the time? Well, I mean, it's just to even talk like that is not healthy. It's like, what would it be like if I could have some girl that just, like I said, she's awake 24/7, and it's just at that point it's going to be a problem because you'd be like, especially if she wouldn't leave you alone, right? Now you're going to be the one that feels like you're stalked, and that's happened. I mean, nobody talks about it, but I'm sure that's happened to some guys where they're like, "Oh boy, this chick's," and basically, you have to be careful how you exit a relationship like that because it could be very dangerous. You have to tiptoe out of some things, and I would say, I don't think the market's any different. I think the big problem for me is that being impatient doesn't make things. Impatience is a time-based issue, and the market is so time-based that the market can move 80 pips in 30 seconds or 80 pips in 30 hours. Now, think about the dynamic range of that. It's almost inconceivable to somebody in the normal world to live in a world like that. It's a dynamic range that's just, in any sense, is disturbing. It's unsettling. It doesn't feel safe to be in a room that keeps changing from 4 by 4 to 40 feet by 40 feet. If you were really to experience that, with pictures on the walls for reference, as the room expands and it collapses on you, and it stops at 20 feet by 20 feet and pauses for a while, then it goes 20 by 60 in a slow motion. I mean, what do you think? That's how I picture the market. Honestly, I've been lying up to this point. When I first started looking at depth of market and all the shit these people talk about, order flow, depth of market, picture yourself standing on this moment in this trade here. And you call this hindsight or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but you have to realize the market is capable of this shit. It's not a bad tick on the chart. This whole wick, how long did that take? Okay, now, when you look at it on the chart, you'd say, man, I wish I would have bought that fucking thing. Okay, now, if you did not place your pending how are you pulling the trigger on this shit? It's a first come, first serve, too. If your orders are in here 20 hours before this guy buys the market, you're getting the better fill, technically. It depends what broker, but this is supposed to be the rules of the road. I can't say that your broker's not good. Well, you're still at the mercy of the spread when this thing crushes in here. Maybe you get just a slightly, but it wouldn't even matter. You got to think in terms of price over time, and you got to believe. And this is proof right here that when this time slice, if your pending order lasted all fucking week you had buys here. How is that not a good trade? Well, you would say you did the same thing here and they stopped you out. Okay, this is 50 pips from here to here. You got to trade with 50 pip stops and 20s and 18s and 35s and 100s. Okay, you need a spectrum. If the market's spectrumal, then you have to be the same way. I was talking to a guy at the coffee shop and he was saying words that I never heard before, and I thought, can you really do that to a word? If the market's spectrumable, if it's spectrumous, put an S behind after everything. That's very high riskness. Yeah, he's a riskness guy. So, yeah. And the thing is that the pace of the market is utterly disturbing to the impatient person. Utterly disturbing, because you can see, oh, fuck. If I was here for this fucking trade, now let's see if I can drill down on this damn thing. Okay, so I'll go to the 1 hour chart first. I'm trying to identify the scene of the crime here. Now, this trade, and actually, there's another paradox of trading. The more you trade, the worse you would get at it. Typically, that's why there's a thing called beginner's luck, because beginners wouldn't give a fuck. But if you've been through enough scenarios in the market, you get a real good intuition where it's going and what's going to happen next based on the velocity. But you can lose perspective very quickly. If you're on the 1 minute chart here, you can only imagine there's a double bottom inside this bottom. There could be a triple bottom in here on the 1 minute chart. So you have to inspect this shit, because this is what's going to make it. You realize that the dynamic range of the market is so fucking insane that just from a linear standpoint, sizing of 1K per ticket, this is a tremendous amount of ratio win-loss going on in this thing. You could have played this from, and this is just nothing but, I could take the line chart out, the closing prices, but it would defeat the purpose of the analysis of price over time. And are you a guy that can go 24 hours without fucking taking a nap? I guarantee you, some of the best trades that happen are when you're sleeping. Well, it's going to seem like that, right? Because you're going to see something and go, wow, man, if I just would have woke up like 2 hours ago. That also presupposes you would have had the balls to pull the trigger on a market that's smashing down like this. And I got to imagine the spread was probably on a bad retail broker here with floating spreads. Had to be at least for a millisecond, 15 pips. Who knows? But at some point it calmed down in here. So really, let me steal some more room here. And so let's take a look at that. February 14th is Valentine's Day, and let me see what day of the week this is. Okay, so here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, go figure. Wednesday is the most wild day typically in the market. Here's another Wednesday. Right? No, that's Tuesday, sorry. Here's Wednesday. Here's Wednesday. There's Monday. So let's look at the trades you missed. And this is hindsight torture. Should you have bought anything below this wick here? Was this a price? Was this a vacuum itching to be filled? Where's the vacuums? Fuck the price. This is another problem. Why you look at the price? Look where the price hasn't been. It hasn't been here lately. Got to go get some fill up. Fill up the station. What does a trend line tell you is that there's a vacuum forming. There's this vacuum. Okay. And there's this one. So the guy's asking me about vacuums. Well, trend line's showing you the vacuum. So the vacuum is this area right there. And this area. Anything below this trend line is, oops, I miscued on that. I misaligned that one. This one here. And of course, the trend line at close, why is that better than trend line on the wick? Because the wick is a momentary, you might as well draw lines on tick charts and 1 minute charts. Okay, because this shows you it's it's dipping into the vacuum for just a little bit of time. Now go to the half hour and take a look at that. And now you realize that is a half hour window. And now you realize that the market only spent maybe, this is a 15-minute chart. You were down here for 5 minutes. Okay. Think about these trades, man. You were below here for 5 minutes. And this is why trading's so difficult. There was a point after 5 minutes went down where this market did not close any lower than that. Okay. So this is not, and if the spread was at 5, like what is this? How many pips is that? This is, if the spread went to even 15, you still got filled at 123. So what would that look like in the real world? Well, If you had the balls to buy here, and this takes balls, man. You gotta. This guy's also talking about asking tonight about, and you could take horrific drawdowns. Well, there's nothing horrific about losing $48. If you normally make $200 a day in your day job, I mean, you gotta do the fucking math on this shit, dude. When somebody proposes fantasy trading, always do the math. Yes, you can make fucking better than, you could quadruple an account in a week. Yes, you can do that. Okay, listen, forget doubling the account. You could make 1,000% a day on $40. Most people could. So let's not kid ourselves. How much is your net worth? How much do you make in your day job? How much money do you piss away on bullshit in your life? Dude, people buy shit out of impulse. I mean, stuff is all glittered up, you know. And checkout aisles. What pisses me off when I go in stores is, why do you put shit in the aisle, dude? I can't get to your inventory. What the fuck is this shit? Like, the next store I go to, I'm going to tell the manager, I'm going to call headquarters and go, get this shit out of your fucking aisles, man. Well, don't you want some of these on a fucking cardboard cart, which to me is fire marshal bill not good. Like, let me show you something. Okay, I could light this thing. This is cardboard. What if I'm lighting my crack pipe as I walk by this thing? I could light this shit up, right? I need this in my life. Cardboard cutout fucking, you need another Snickers bar? No, I'm good. I know if I get down that road where I'm eating candy every day, I could find it. I'm not stupid. I know your product exists. But the funny thing about these markets is how viciously quick they are. And I mean, how much price it can cover in an hour is just frightening. Think about it. You made 23 pips. You can make 40 pips in 30 minutes. Or you can make 40 pips in 10 days because the market's ranging and you're a trend trader, goober. And you get in, you're up 60 pips, now you're only up 20, then you're up 30, then you're up 60, then you're up 30, then you're up 20, then you go, I can't fucking take it. I'm just going to take my 40. How long are you waiting? Okay, so the impatient person's argument is, you were in that trade for 10 days and you made 48 pips. Well, I was up 130 and then I was down 80 and I just was I'm a trend trader. So what I did there was, see what I did? I got in here because all the indicators said go and my signal service said to buy. And I did because I'm a good person. And I'm paying for the signal service, by the way. It's $98 a month. Why not $99? Well, they gave me $1 off as an incentive. So, I mean, it's just, or are you the trader that says, let me see, look at this fucking shit. Can I get rich quick? No, you can't do that. I've been told you cannot get rich quick. Well, we don't want to try to put in these kind of trades you're talking about right here then, mister. Okay, which hat are you wearing? Like, who are you? Are you a risk taker beyond risk take? Are you the guy that can fucking climb a tower without any safety belt? Are you, as soon as you talk about money, you're talking about the core of somebody's existence. Money is the core of your existence. In a modern world, all that matters is how much money you have or how big your digital balance is. To certain people in your life. And those people would be people that don't know, they don't give a fuck if you're a nice person. Like, being a nice person, nobody's going to pay you for being a nice person unless that's your gig. I guess if you're a psychologist, right? You don't want to have your clients come in and tell them, listen, you're too fucked up for me to treat. You're too insane. Or no. I can cure your insanity and then lose a client. Why would I do? Why would I blow myself up? So I don't even know. I mean, trading is like bizarre because, like I said, if you take a person that's never traded in their life and they don't even really kind of vaguely, oh, okay, and you just never let them see the outside, like the Buddha. Don't let them go outside to see the horrors. And you choose the box that they trade in. You're going to build their box. So you think outside the box, but that's a detriment too. Um, because if you go outside the box, now you have no more community. And that's why the trading chats can be a little toxic because it can be a codependent thing where people are like, well, I hope this goes up. Oh, I'm rooting for that trade too. And now, maybe it's okay for you, but it's not for me just because it gives me an anxiety that's not, it's just, well, I guess you just feel like, it, I don't know. I don't know. You just have a feeling of well, there's not a lot of risk taking in a communal chat because like here this chat here, I said something off, something that was kind of dark, and like that's the problem with even a chat room in the first place. There's some fucking moderator in there. So if you go in these places, I guess where there's no filters, then and that's what I figure my channel is about is just filterless rants about things in life. But if trading is part of your life, then it's another component of, well, let's say this. If you have a chaotic lifestyle, then maybe the market makes sense to you. And it's okay that the market does inappropriate things or it goes further than you thought it would go. So we don't have that view of other people in our lives. We think, oh, this guy's out of his fucking mind, but we know his favorite sports, so he's in his own box and he's okay. And you're not gonna see a lot of people that decide at the age of 40 they're gonna become a rock star and stuff. Usually, if you're 12 years old or you're 20 years old, you're gonna get this, but you're not gonna think of becoming a football champ at the age of 40. So there's a lot of things, sadly, that are set on how old you are. And somebody that's making X amount of dollars and they're having fun every weekend, and they only think so far down the road, for them, that's great, and they're very happy. And of course, being dumb is a real asset because you don't think of anything more than the simple pleasures of life, and those things are like a real natural happiness, I suppose, right? And so why do people want to trade these markets is to make money because supposedly if you have more money you will be better because that's how people are judged. I mean, I don't think you can turn, I mean, all these attacks on President Trump not showing his taxes is just the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like these motherfuckers that want me to show my real trading accounts. Go fuck yourself. You know, you just gotta love Trump for just being a fucking human. And this when I look at these markets, it's just very cold. You have to be cold. And that's another problem. Go back to the chat room, forex trading. Nice people. You have to be a dick in these markets. And if you're not a dick in real life, it's a real fucking bitch. I mean, when I started, I felt so. When I heard that it was a zero-sum game and that if I'm winning, somebody's losing, I thought, oh, that's not good at all. I mean, everybody's born a liberal, everybody's born with a heart. And then, well, I can't say everybody, but I guess Jeffrey Dahmer was actually, he at least was entertaining people before he killed them. It wasn't like he took them home and, besides, I think it was, people that bang somebody after they're dead, that speaks for a whole different level of affection. I love you so much, I'd fuck you dead. I mean, so necrophiliacs, right? Um, but so the heart, the feeling, and so this is the problem. You're a nice person, and you want to trade for a living, so you want to steal from other people for a living, and that's essentially what you're doing. So you really are, because you're going against everything that you've been taught your whole life. And well, if somebody's told you that if you win, somebody's losing, and if that's it, you're in the devil's domain. It's very difficult. Um, I think it's better to people are happier losing or not making as much money trading if they feel they're in the crowd of I'm a cloud trader. I trade Gartley patterns. Somehow that's okay. Because I'm putting my best foot forward, so to speak. But trading is just literally an evil game. I mean, it's real. This isn't why people are saying that it's manipulated and stuff like that. Yeah, because you've been lulled into, well, you're seeking safety in an uncertain venue. It's impossible. So what has to happen is you have to love uncertainty. People are like, dude, no, I didn't get married to somebody that's going to change sex every without even any rhythm. Like, imagine the person you're married to, their sex changes and flips randomly. You don't want that. So why would you want to trade the market? Why would you want uncertainty in your life like that? Well, because it's a double-edged sword. Nobody would trade this stuff if the creed is anything can happen. It doesn't mean bad stuff's going to happen. It doesn't mean. I think when people think of the phrase anything can happen and every moment's unique, then how can I follow the song I'm listening to, the story of the market? If there's not a kick drum in this motherfucking mix, all music kind of drifted. This modern music is fucking synced like an atomic clock. I just listened to like 40 hours of stuff I never heard in my life. Somebody's listening to. And we were in the car, and it was just wallpaper. There was a couple songs where it was like Meatloaf, they like slow it down and shit. But I think people really would prefer the market to abide by their moving averages and behave properly and do what they think it's going to do, and not get sucked into a move where you're like, holy shit. And okay, now there's two approaches to trading. Either you're staring at the fucking chart, babysitting it. You get up in the morning, you trade the London Open or something. In other words, if you need volatility to make money because you're trading with a wide stop, okay, here's a whole other problem. Say you're trading an instrument that has a 5 pip stop, imagine worst case scenario, so 5 pip fixed pip spread. Okay, this is going to make it so that you have to have targets of maybe 15 to 20 pips and more. You can't try to make. It'd be a lot of work to try to make 5 pips with a 5 pip spread. That means you have to have a 0 pips, your stop is 1 pip, 5 pip spread. You have a 6 pip stop on that. Okay? You got to get away from. With a 5 pip spread, you can make money on about every instrument on a daily or 4-hour time frame, because you can run a 50 pip stop, and it's only going to cost you 10% on your trade. But 10% is pretty good, right? If you're spending 2% on a trade, now this is one trade though. So if you're building a house and you were buying 2x4s, you're buying drywall for a house. Well, you're gonna order 10 extra out of 100 because you know that some of them are going to be fucking warped or cracked. Or you're paying that on shipping, right? You got to get the shit to your door. So the spread's kind of inconsequential because if you had a 50 pip stop on a 100 pip winner and a 50 in a 25 pip stop on a 100 pip winner, there's going to become a point where you're making 10 times your money on the trade and you're only paying 10%. So now you're still making 900%, right? I mean, it wouldn't matter. Now, that's if you're trading the guppy or something. Not to mention the fact that when the news comes out, for most people in this world, the spread's going to get wide. I'm not in a brokerage firm where I see the spread stay at half a pip during major news when the market's moving 100 pips every 40 milliseconds, because the spread is indicative of the fact that there's a lag. It's the dumbest video I've ever seen, is this high frequency thing where they talk about, high frequency trading, what happened to the crash, and the guy's showing this fucking tick chart. I'm like, dude, really? You act as if there's no latency. Like there's nobody going, or there's not a jam of orders trying to get through a gate. Like people didn't die at the Who concert. Yeah, it was a fake. It was a hoax. No, it's not a fucking hoax. I mean, so it's just you can't even watch it. After a while, you can't watch the Stapletons, and I just can't bear it. It's too much anger rises up from the stupidity, and I don't know. I just don't think it's helping me because it's just kind of making me feel like I should be normal, like these other people. Some people. And I don't want to be normal. I just want to be myself. I don't want to try to, normal in the sense of like I'm not out killing people. That normal's okay, but I just don't think it's worth living for other people's, I don't know. This whole thing with trading is a problem because all the charts that people are used to looking at and all the candlesticks and all the patterns, after 30 years of hearing about this shit, you just kind of go, okay, yeah, but it's just like when you're a musician, been a musician for, I'd say, well, it's probably like 45 years, right? So I'm like, okay. And of course, you could fall into a rut playing guitar. Just like a rut trading, like a rut of trading going, yeah, not confronting the fact that what the crux of the problem is patience. So even in music, you could be impatient. You could rush the beat, or you could play too many notes. You can overplay like you can overtrade. Now, I didn't think it was possible. And of course, now it's a fashionable thing is to, you see these kids like 12 years old who can shred on guitar. It's like, this is fucking boring. It's nothing musical about it. There's nothing spiritual about it. There's nothing soulful about it. It's like the whitest shit I've ever seen in my life. Some chick sits down and plays, this stupid song by Van Halen, Emulsion or whatever the fuck it is. Like, whatever. Jesus Christ. It's not moving material. It's like RoboCop. It's not, you need a cop that's going to just accidentally shoot you. But I don't know. I guess it's just too damn pristine. I don't know. I prefer the old messy world, I suppose, in some regards. Tapes getting jammed, like cassette tape getting eaten. You just don't have there's no fun anymore. Like you put a tape in your car and you hear like all of a sudden the high frequency goes away and then you hear and then you see like the magnetic tape coming out of the dashboard. You just miss that shit, I'm sure somebody, at some point they'll bring that back, like shit that doesn't work properly. When you're paying for shit that doesn't work at that point, you're so nostalgic for shit fucking up. But the market is just it's so hard to trade if you're sitting in the 1 minute chart and you're up like 10 grand, right? And now you're down 20 grand. That's tough, right? That's always a bad day. And you're like, fuck, dude, now I can't imagine this guy that's asking me this fancy question about you just doubled your account. Well, at the end of if you doubled your account, you went from 10 grand to 20 grand in 1 day or 3 days. How you feeling? Okay, we just made 10 grand. You could afford to lose 2 grand now and be like, I'm still up 8 grand. I mean, this is just all gambling. There's nothing wrong with gambling, but the gambler's mind, and the traders think they're some special breed of fucknuts. They're not. They're gamblers. If you're risking, you're gambling. It's just because you have Ikamushu clouds and some fucking. I'm using a 89 instead of a 55. Well, yeah, okay. I just saying because I've been through that thought process, and it's just a dead end. It's not helping. To say that I'm using 89, 55, 34, 21, 13, 8, 5, 2. Well, it's all Fibonacci moving averages, man. It should be better. No, I don't think so. I mean, what is your trade plan? Do you have a 5 pip, 8 pip stop? Is your broker giving you 2 pip spread or a half a pip spread? Do you want to trade? What time are you going to wake up? How often are you going to look at your charts? At the end of the day? Are you too curious? Like, are you going to stalk your girlfriend? Or are you going to let her have the day to herself? You meet up, you get together, there's something to talk about. Or is she calling you every half hour going, now what are you doing? I had a girl like that. Now what are you doing? Well, pretty much the same thing as last time you bothered me. Nothing. So the market is like that. Now the market, if you're curious, so what could possibly go wrong with a human being trading as opposed to a robot? A robot's going to take clunky mechanical trades, and that's totally doable. And those may be that when you're sleeping, the robot could make a couple bucks while you're sleeping, maybe. Hopefully just not blow up the account. But how are you going to, approach the market? At the end of the day, now that would be, for a curious person, that'd be nearly impossible. For an impatient person, that might be impossible too. It might seem impossible because what would you do in the meantime? Now, this is another problem with trading is if you have a trading platform, then if you live alone, there's nobody stopping you from looking at the chart. The one thing this guy did say, this 50 Cent guy, he said that he kept putting rules on there. Well, what if you did this and then after that you did this? So at least that's something. Now that's, and of course, it's a real disaster if you hate rules. But as Mark Douglas would say, you're making up your own rules. So if you hate the rules of the government, make up your own rules. But you would have your own safety list of do's and don'ts. Like, do not put head in microwave oven. People put, if you need to put a Post-it note for that, by all means do that. I know people do that. They put Post-it notes on the computer. Don't lose money today. Now, it's kind of funny, but in a way, we're pretty, like if you write a note, you don't have to go read that note because when you're process of writing it, you kind of burn it in your mind. You expressed it, so it left a fingerprint on your head coming out of your hand, so to speak, so in your brain. So you have like a picture of it, and you've also, so they say, you've inscribed it into your subconscious mind. So that was the whole idea of NLP, is that you could take a trader that is blowing up his account, and you could redo his word files by tapping into his subconscious, which is really driving all your behavior in your life, is your subconscious, because there's a hidden drive, or just your kind of like hunter sniper part where I'm going to go kill animals and be the hero. So I'm going to trade X and I'm going to do this. And look, I pulled that trade off and I even made money and I did what I was supposed to do and all that stuff. So that comes into it. And so actually the trading is going to be really at the mercy of how you see the world. So, but you have to realize that the market is dynamically outside the range of anything else in your normal life. Like I smashed my thumb. Now, when I smashed my thumb, to me, that was like a 5,000 pip move. But it was like, wow, I got stopped out of my thumb, and holy shit, at my age, I actually never smashed my thumb like that in my life. To be honest with you, I can count on one hand with my fingers left how many times I've never broken a bone. So I've just never been this athletic. I'm just a nerd, I suppose. So I've never been playing football. I can't claim that I broke a rib. So my whole world is, being a musician. I haven't even dropped a Hammond B3 on my foot. So I haven't done anything catastrophic. I did dislocate my arm wrapping up wire one day, though. But that was 25. At 25 years old, I could withstand that, But so I'm 59 years old now. I don't really want to be. And of course, trading is kind of really bad for your health because you're sitting down. You can stand up trading. That's what Bill Williams does. But that's also what Hemingway was doing when he killed himself. He was working, standing up. And I guess, this is why if you're swing trading the market, you're going to be underwater pip-wise and maybe not dollar-wise to make a difference to your life. And you could probably out-trade a bad scalper. A good scalper. Now, if you wanted to do a dollar per dollar competition, now that would be an interesting competition. How much money can you make per day or per week? How much money can you make per week? Now, as soon as you bracket, this guy kept referring to 24-hour period X. Pick a month. How much you make in a month? Now, if you give yourself, I'm making 50% a month or 100% a month, you can out trade any bank. You can out trade any of these fucknuts that are making 5%. Like I said, I talked to some guy at some big trading house, and he said, if we make 5-10%, we're killing it. Make 10%, you're killing it. Yeah, it's so much fucking money, and they don't want to take a drawdown. Yeah, if you want to trade without stops, you're going to be down 200%. Now you're going to be up 500%. Easily. On $1,000, easily. You're down $500 in the morning. By the end of the day, you're up $3,500. Easily done. Can you handle being down $500? Once you get to the $500, every dollar after that. Now, at some point in your brain, you're going to go, well, fuck it. Whatever. Let it be down 700. Fuck it. Now, this could happen rarely, or this could be an everyday thing. The guy that's making $5,000 a day is like, dude, I'm down $200. I expect that right out of the gate. I expect in the next half hour I'll probably be down another 300. All that to me, it means it's based on the balance between the fear of missing out and which would be greed. And as you now you're only down $160. Your worst drawdown, you've been in the market for 48 minutes, your worst drawdown is 350, and now you're only down 60. Now you're down, now imagine I'm just calling off every 15 minutes. Now you're down $127. Now you're at 40. Now you're down 480. Now you're up 850. Do you get out now? That was 2 hours. I just went. Every 15 minutes, I was calling out a price. And you gotta think of a ticker tape coming at you. That's like it's totally different. If you were watching a ticker tape out of a tape machine and you couldn't see a chart, it's a whole different mindset. Now, when you see the thing go to 22 and 19, or 22 and then 19 and change, you're like, holy shit. And you see it bob around there, like, pick up the phone and call the order, and because it's just, you know that this is a really deep discount. And you see the gaps on the ticker tape, like the next quote is X away. Now, if you're not watching that happen, and you told somebody, listen, if that stock goes below $40, buy everything below 40 for every dollar, every $2 below 40, I want to keep buying all the way to 30. I just linear martingale in. How's that not a good trade? Well, I can already see why that's not a good trade from the normal person's mindset. Well, I had to see so many people would say, I have to see the chart. So many people would say, well, what was the news? If it's going down, maybe it's in a downtrend. I mean, it's endless fucking shit is going to come up in your mind for this. Why to talk yourself out of doing this by the dip strategy? It's got to come to your mind. It's what a normal person would do. A law-abiding citizen is going to ask these questions. And of course, if you ever traded the market and you're successful trading, you can cope with the uncertainties. When people ask those questions, it freaks people. People are like, holy shit. You're asking like the dumbest, in a way, you're asking, it's like if you went to the drag racing thing. Well, why don't these guys go around and why are they just stopping after so many feet? Dude, it's a drag race. So a scalp would be different than a swing trade. It's like a drag race in a way. A lot of these spikes in the market. Well, of course, you're not going to bring an Indy. You're not going to bring a NASCAR to a drag race, even though it's a really good car. All these trades have to be, or trade plans, I should say, need to be scenario specific. You just can't. I don't know. You really have to think about it. And of course, these scenarios, these quick lightning moves, this is the 5-minute chart. Now, I don't think I can drill down any tighter unless I fix this and walk it. I have to come in here and fix this shit here. Let's turn it off. Auto scroll. Don't usually do it, so this is it, I think. Okay. So if I go to the scene of the crime down here, go to the 1-minute chart. I'm going to go back and hunt this thing down again. Please hold. Your call is very important. Now look at the 1-minute chart. People say they trade the 1-minute chart, and I say, okay, but you're in the trade for 5 minutes here, you know? You're making your 5 pips and you're getting the fuck. Here's you just made 15 pips. 1-minute chart. Look at this is how many minutes? 1,400 bars a day, 1,440 a day. I'm trying to get back to the scene of the crime here. Okay, here we go. So way down here, it's happened very, very quickly. Here's the double bottom. There's divergence on the 3-period hour side there. Obviously. Right? Makes a lower low. Momentum's dying. I guarantee you if I put a 3-period RSI on there, it's going to be a divergence. So hopefully my RSI is set to 3 periods by default. This 14 won't do. Here's 3. In fact, it's a triple divergence there. Right? Well, you don't need to look at this fucking RSI to see this. Let's hope, right? If you see a double bottom here, right there, it's actually quadruple divergence, quadruple. There's 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The double's right there. I don't know if you can see that. Oh. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Right there. It's a very bizarre zoom feature on here. It doesn't zoom for me. It just quarters it off. But all right, and then so if you had to trade RSI? Of course, you gotta. It's not easy. You gotta be able to see stuff like this. Right here is your more sold at a higher price, right? Here, more oversold. These are buys, more oversold, buy that, buy. But you just buy that anyways. But you buy that on structure, too. Right? That should be obvious. It's climbing up there. So what happened here was you have the 1-minute chart. I have to zoom in now. This is going to be a bitch to find that price again. Yeah. Shit. Please hold. Yeah, we kind of come all the way back here again. That's the only problem with this, and I don't know how to do it. There's a trick how to keep that from jumping around. I forgot it. I forgot the trick, so the suffer. Moving this back, but you can see that if you were there for that trade, you'd have to just sit there with your finger on the trigger and nail it. Well, why would you want to do all that when you could just put a pending order there in advance and just not worry about it? Right? Okay, here we are. Okay, so here's the scene of the crime. Now, here you can see the quadruple divergence. And look, just before the news. Now, you'd have had, you know the news is coming out. I'm assuming this is news or some shit. It's sell stops here, buy stops here, right, if you don't want to decide. Or, just before it tanked, how would you build a short position before it tanks? You're selling new highs. There's a vacuum here. We tag the 50-yard line. Smash down. You're taking profits along the way, I hope. First bounce off the round number. 1-minute bounce. This is 3 minutes go by. And pound down lower. Somebody scalps 10 pips, makes money. Losing momentum. Divergence is coming in. Your first buying reversal is here. Slightly more oversold at a slightly higher price. We have a structure here. Double top becomes a bottom on the 1 minute. Here's the feeding zone. Right? Now, I don't think a lot of people are up for the 1 minute chart. Now, if the 1 minute chart is running on one panel of your chart, and on the other thing you have the I got this stupid CAD, Australia CAD up here because this was when I took a look at the Tier 1 trading group with Jason Stapleton and all this, or Jason Stapleton, Jason Greystone. He had a trade to do this something here, and I'm like, Whatever. It's so stupid. All his trades are like, we're going to sell up here next week sometime. When you could just buy. Here's your classic. This is when I first saw forex. This is what it looked like. Let me turn off the grid here. Show period separator. So, yeah, look at this classic. This is a perfect open to close. Dojis, just bracket the high and the low here instead of the wick, like here. Boom. And then bam. Breaking out of a narrow. Ultimately, it's a spinning top, so we have a doji instead of a small range. Those are the best entries. So it's pure mechanical trading here. Buy, stop. But where's the target? How often does it trade? On and on, you know. It's a never-ending story. How often do you trade it? Are you looking at this chart or are you looking at this chart? Okay, so get rid of the... oh, fuck, that is that. Okay. That's not the Australian dollar. Here it is. This is some stupid trade he was talking about here. No, this is terrible spread here. It's god awful. It's 3 pips on close. This is ridiculous. Why is he even trading this shit? I don't get it. I don't even understand why people don't trade the euro. It's the tightest spread in the world. Just fucking, you only have to see one goddamn thing, man. Just load up the fucking wagon on that thing. Christ. But see, that's the idea that you have a 25 pip stop and you take that and you trade it on 8 pairs. Okay. Yeah, because you have a 25 pip stop. You can do all sorts of stuff with that trade plan. A trade plan to me is 25 pip stop to make 50 pips. There's your trade plan. Now, there's only 3 other things that you'd have to add to that trade plan. Is this a stop, a limit, or a market order? The simplest trade plan in the world is I have a stop, I have a target, and I've decided how I'm going to get in. I have 3 ways I can get in. Or 4. The 4th thing is to never it never fills, and you are on the sidelines, which is the 4th. Another position to be in is flat. You don't have to always be in the market, so you can just pick amazing trades. You can get in. I guess if you don't get filled for 2 weeks on a trade, maybe you're under trading. Like, how do you know when you're under trading? How do you know when you're over trading? And so all that stuff, and how many of these things do you want to do? Like here in the daily, I don't trade this thing. I put an order in here, so I have a history of doing this order, but you can't tell what time frame that was based on. But what's your trade on this chart? Is it going to be this wick? Are you gonna have pendings here and capture that move? Just like, are you going to put pendings here and sell new highs? And hold the trade, also hold the trade till it comes back to here and you make this target. Otherwise, you just got out of this target and you're done. You actually, this is get rich quick, this is get rich slow, and this is lose, right? If you sold here and you didn't get out on this price pulse, you are now underwater. It looks like it's going higher. It's pulling back, top become a bottom. It looks like it's going to try to keep merging north, right? And all sellers are going to come in here at this rooftop, just over and over again, rinse and repeat. If you're bullish, you had to have known this low existed. This is ripe for the buying. But here you would have had the cash out of something because you're coming back. If you bought here, you had to get out on something on the way up here because you know this is the floor. But most critical thing of all is, where is the vacuum? So all those Gartleys those people draw, they're drawing them in the wrong spot. They're drawing it over prices. Here's the problem with these Gartley fucks. They do shit like this. We got this. So we got this to this to this. They're putting on a price. Well, we just put a trend line up. That's not the Gartley. They go like, oh, see? Swing low to swing high. Dude, it's not the swing low to swing high. It's this shit here. It's this. It's void to void. For the love of Pete. Right, look at this void fill. Think about where the price hasn't been. So, in the terms of voidage, let's see if I can move this thing over. And so, what's to come too? We'll try to think ahead. Like, what is to come here? If this is the trend line, if this is a vapor, if there's a vacuum up here, is this going to fill next? Or is this the one to fill? I could just put the void on closing prices only. This one's filled. So we have this void got filled. Pretty much fucked up that triangle. It's not as easy as it looks. Okay. And filled all the way to here. And of course the sellers came up into that and those guys won a little bit. So some people are winning a lot, some people are winning a little. How about this trap? It's very dramatic on this because the spread's so shit. Right, this trap here, and then there's this one. So there's a real, fractally speaking, here's a void, here's a triangle, void, and here's a triangle, void here. It gets filled up into this, and so the market can go sideways, but then it's going to go like here where you fill down, come back and grab up all these, that void, and then it goes after this void. So it runs from one side of the street to the other constantly, and I think that's how you make money. I don't think you make money by saying dumb shit like, well, the trend's up, I'm just going to buy. Because where do you buy? You know, the confirmation people are going to buy. Well, it broke out, I'm buying. Oh, great. So if your stop's here, they stopped you out. If your stop's here, they didn't stop you out. But when you were up here, did you get out? Maybe you did. If you didn't, it's coming all the way back to the starting gate of where you bought the breakout. Okay, anybody been through this shit? Now, you buy here, it breaks out, comes back. Should I buy more? Well, I don't know. I was only planning on buying X. Okay, I really wish I would have scalped some of that. How is that not a consideration? How does anybody not say to themselves, you know, I was really up on that quite a bit. And if you did not get out, when it comes to here, and say you moved your stop to here, you only made X. If you tightened your stop from, your initial stop was here, this is a 4-hour chart. It's totally conceivable that somebody bought the break of this price, they put a buy stop here, the market went in their favor, their initial stop was here, and they just held it. They go, you know what, I'm not even moving my stop. I'm not going to tighten it up here to get stopped out. I'm going to leave it right where my original stop is. If the original stop was here, and they get out here, it's a whole different world. So I'm going to finish with this. My whole argument is, if you bought 80 standard lots here, with a stop here, and you got out here, how'd you do? If you bought 20 standard lots here, you bought 20 standard lots here, you bought 20 standard lots here, you bought 20, you were going to buy 20 here, but they didn't fill you. You took off this trade when you got to here and you let the rest go to here and you got out on the other tickets like in here. What was those results? What if you bought 10K here and you martingaled in 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K, you didn't get filled on the 70K, and you got out here on everything and called it a day? Who made more money? You can only see how there is a bottomless pit of sizing and scaling scenarios within one move. You also, why the trend is bullshit, is because you could have sold here, you could have sold here, and you could have cashed out here. You could have counter trend traded it. Could have sold new highs right here. 4-hour chart. We knew this price existed. We knew this was a buy trap. We could have cashed out here. Back to the structure on the 1-hour chart. There's a top become a bottom here. Tops become a bottom on Wix. The guy that trades double the size here, he runs very tight stops. He makes more money than the trend trader. So trend trading, it's just not, it's scenario based. The trend trader that bought this thing here and got out here made the fastest money of anybody in this whole scheme. This counter trend trader here, it took him longer to make money. Right? The counter, if you think this is in a downtrend here, right, and that's where you made your money in the breakout here, this counter trend trader made more money by buying here and getting out here than the trend trader. Because the trend trader, of course, the trend trader took him longer to make money because he sold here and he didn't get out here, and maybe he waited for this, or maybe he ran a trailing stop, maybe he got out here. Now, if you're allowed to trade 10 tickets per day instead of 1 ticket per day, you can only see how you've already you probably softened your profits. You're not going to hit a home run, but you're going to be in the game. I mean, well, if you're hitting home runs, you're missing bad on some stuff too. So, for instance, here's a durable top become a bottom. Top becomes a bottom, becomes a top, becomes a bottom before the big explosion. This is a 4-hour chart. And not to mention you've got this huge vacuum that's itching to get filled. It's been forming here. Right, this is the big thing. It pretty much goes to here. And that starts to fill up and up and up, and gets to right there. This is a monster trade. This is actually a counter trend trade, right? Because it's going down into that. But these are the trades, in my opinion. These are the ultimate trades. You're buying here, new lows, and you could have cashed out, scalped to here. There's another chance to get back on the wagon here. You're selling new highs. It's obvious. It's obvious, right? What would you do next week? Well, who's not going to buy here? You'd be out of your fucking mind not to buy here. You'd be out of your fucking mind not to sell up here. All right, I don't know what else to say. Let me get rid of this fucking chart. Let me see if I can do this. So here's your 1 minute chart. Here's your 4-hour chart. Now let's go to current. Hope I put the right template. Let's put the same template on both panels. So here's the 1 minute chart. Here's the 4-hour chart. Now you can see, and I'm letting the computer pick the sizing of the scale. So here's another approach. One instrument, one man, one instrument. Now here's the 1 minute chart. Here's a nice big sell-off here. That wasn't even the news thing. It was a whole different, that was just this last final collapse. Now that's quite a buying opportunity for bounces for me next week. Anything below here, I would definitely buy here. So I don't care about the final destination either. I don't care whether this thing is ultimately going to par or going to the moon. It just wouldn't matter. I don't care if it just ranges around. So a 1 minute chart, that's a 5-pip grid. Now let's go to the 5 minute chart. Now in this mirror we have the in this one we have the 4-hour chart. Here's the daily, here's the weekly. The weekly is like off to the I was sending charts to somebody once about this, and they're like, yeah, but it's a buy here and it's a sell here. Precisely. It's a buy here and it's a sell here. Because I had to get rid of that object there. Just draw it on the screen. It's like, wow, this thing is taking off. But on this one, it's going down. So time frame overlay is a big easy. It's just so easy. You got one instrument. How could you fuck this up? This says buy. This says sell. This says stay long. This says, wow, I'm long, but man, I'm down 150 pips. And this is 150 pips down from, and pretty much from the beginning of London Open there to the end of the day. And it's kind of a too fast, maybe. And the 1 hour, it just keeps smashing. But I've seen this just keep smashing down. And look at this. It's sitting at the rate of change of 50 pips per day here at a 45-degree angle. So I know people have those Gann angles and all that bullshit, but this is really nice because you can think about, well, I could have made, if I wanted to make 50 pips a day, what would that look like? Like just like that. It just so happens that it boxed out like that. Now, at 100 pips per day, you'd have to resize that, but it just so happens that this thing is catching it like that. And you could say that, yeah, it's fair to say that it's moving approximately, 50 pips per day. I mean, these are realistic. These are things you can get your brain around. I think I got this fucked up somehow here. Price is getting in the way of my angle. I have to establish the angle on unpriced stuff here. All right, so that's going like 50 pips a day. And it's also pulling back at 100 pips per day. It's 100 pips per day. There you go. 1 day, 100 pips. Here, 150 pips. In 1 day, we're up 100 pips. Even faster than that. We're going up at this rate 150 pips a day. Even faster than that, actually, because it's half a day. At that rate of change, it's a lot of pips. Like this move down here. So yeah, you can make 100 pips in a day. Oh yeah, you make $1,000 a day in a standard lot, right? Oh yeah, easy. Make $1,500 in 1 day. Risking like $100. You can make $1,000 risking 100, risking 200. You can make 800. Now they might stop you out. of $20 of that trade, you only make 800. If everything was set to the exact same target too. Don't forget, you could be doing a scaled out thing. So anyways, I don't know if that helps, but I feel better. Look at this rate of change here. Look at how steep that fucking move is. It's fantastical. All right, so yeah. And don't forget to tip your waitress. I hope that helps.